From famed deserts and beaches to places you'll not want to step into alone, join me as I show you some of the scariest tourist destinations in the world. Death Valley. It may seem odd that a desert is a tourist destination, but when it comes to Death Valley within California and Nevada of the United States, it's a place that has a legend and mystique that often drive people to it. Much more people than you might expect to. Its 3,000 square mile range make it a place that can be explored but also get lost in, and it's one of the hottest places on Earth, even recorded the hottest temperatures on the planet at certain times. The first trek into Death Valley that's documented happened during the California Gold Rush. People were trying to cross the desert that is Death Valley in order to get to California, but they weren't prepared for just how hot and unforgiving this desert is. It took their lives, and Death Valley was born. What many people forget is that Death Valley isn't a desert proper, but rather a single area in the Mojave Desert. And it's not just a desert, it's a national park, one that is at a place that is the lowest and driest area in all of North America. And that creates a barren wasteland of heat. Its record is 134 degrees Fahrenheit. And because it's so arid, water doesn't come there that often via rain, so people will often go in without much liquid and thus die of dehydration and other factors. And you can bet that it gets scarier and scarier as you realize that you made a mistake in your preparations and you're starting to wonder if you'll make it out alive, or just be another statistic. Number 11, Waverly Hills Sanatorium. Hospitals alone can be a very scary place. The sounds of the machines, the hustle and bustle of the personnel as they try to save lives, the lighting that sometimes seems off, and the fact that you may have a potentially life-altering surgery or operation happen to you, or you may not leave said hospital because of an illness, can be terrifying to anyone. But if you're looking for a really scary hospital to go to, then look no further than the Waverly Hills Sanatorium. Now, technically, this place is scary because of an event that transpired over 50 years ago, which is a long time to get haunted if you ask me. The Waverly Hills Sanatorium was created with the simple purpose of helping people who contracted tuberculosis, also known as the White Plague. The problem, though, was that in the 20th century, when the sanatorium was built, there honestly wasn't much of a way to cure it. So over the course of 50 years, over 8,000 people died of tuberculosis within the facility. That garnered the building quite a reputation, and people believe that the souls of the 8,000 people still reside within the building itself. To that end, there have been haunted tours within the building. And to be fair, the way the sanatorium was built is a bit creepy. Even creepier though, despite all that's happened in this building, there are apparently plans to turn this place into a hotel. What could possibly be wrong with that idea? Hint, a lot. This is how horror movies start. I'm just saying. 10. CN Tower Edgewalk. Alright, so we've done some very scary places so far, but let's try and do something along the lines of death-defying scary, shall we? In Canada, there is a place called the CN Tower, a place that used to hold the record for the tallest building on the planet. Anyway, one of the main attractions of this place is the CN Tower Edgewalk, which is just what you'd think it would be with that name and title. It is a place where you can hook onto a railing overhead and walk on the edge of the tower as you look over Canada, in this case, the city of Toronto. How high up are you exactly? You'll be 1,168 feet in height, which means you're going to be way up there, and you'll definitely not want to look down too much, else you might be too scared to move. But won't we be safe up there? Well, yes and no. On one hand, you are obviously secured to an overhead railing, but there are no walls or handrails for you to hold on to, so if the cord connecting you to the thing above was to have an accident, bad things will happen to you. So, wanna go? 9. Shark Croc Cage. In the animal kingdom, there are few things that are as terrifying as sharks and crocodiles or alligators. They are extreme predators that aren't afraid to rip through anything they consider a meal, and that includes humans. While most people will go and make sure that they stay away from these creatures, some people will literally jump into a cage to go and be with them. In various parts of the world, including Africa and Australia, there are parks where you can go and get into cages so that you can swim with the sharks and crocs that are there. The one in Australia is part of a park with the attraction called the Cage of Death. And in Africa, you won't just be swimming with sharks, you'll be swimming with great white sharks. You know, Jaws? So yeah, if you have nerves of steel, then you can jump into the cage. I'm staying here. 8. Preda Boa Viagem. Not all scary tourist destinations look terrifying or have a true feeling of danger. Some of them look like normal places until you research their deadly history. The beach known as Preda Boa Viagem can be found near the city of Recife in Brazil, and at first glance, it may seem like a perfectly regular and beautiful beach. But since it started up as a beach in 1992, the beach has been infamous for shark attacks. In fact, there have been 50 reported since the beach opening, and 19 of those 50 being fatal attacks on the people there. Oh yeah, Shark Bite City. The waters are so dangerous that the people who visit it merely go to the sand to relax or play, or only go into the waters if they're fearless. Much research went into finding the cause of this, and it led them to several factors, including a construction project which had things being put into the water that disrupted the natural patterns of sharks, as well as items being dumped into the nearby waters, which lured the sharks to the beach area. An initiative was started, though, to capture but not kill, tag, and place the sharks into deeper waters away from the beach. It is making progress, and one day it could lead to all shark attacks in the area being stopped. But until that point comes, you can bet that people are going to be very wary because, as anyone who has watched Jaws knows, you don't mess with sharks. Ever. Number 7. Door to Hell. Okay, don't panic. I don't mean the literal door, I mean a more metaphorical one. For sometimes, a scary place is one that looks so intimidating and frightening that it doesn't need a paranormal reason to exist. And this one actually has a scientific reason for its birth. In Turkmenistan, in the Ahal province, the year 1971, the Russians, who were the Soviets at the time, tried looking for oil in the area around Derwiz. Nothing wrong with that, right? Well, unbeknownst to them, there was a pocket of methane where they were drilling, and they accidentally hit it. This caused the oil platform they were drilling in to collapse into the pocket, and a massive crater 230 feet wide was born. But wait, there's more. You see, the gas started to leak into the air, so the Soviets decided to strike a match, so to speak, and burn the methane out. Unfortunately for them, not only did it not work, the crater is still on fire. That's right, it's still burning to this day, 47 years later. And when you look upon the fires of this pit, you can't help but think that it's the literal gateway into the underworld, which is a huge reason people like going to this place, because it's truly something that looks beyond our world, even though its creation was very much man-made. Before we dive into even more scary tourist destinations, be sure to like or dislike the video so we can improve and make the best possible videos for you, the viewer. Also, be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of our weekly videos. 6. Helltown. Hey, don't blame me for these names. I didn't come up with them. Anyway, in Ohio, there is an area that was formerly called the Boston Township. In the 70s, the government bought out the land and forced the residents to move in order for reconstruction to take place. Specifically, a national park was going to be put there. But it never did, and the empty area remains as it was back in the 70s to this day. Here's where the scary part comes in. The locals have hyped up the area as haunted, and it's not hard to see why when you're driving through the area. The land is thick with trees, and now you have boarded up houses left and right, and a few that are even burned down because of the fire department during training sessions. More than that though, Helltown has a two-part road that's big in the legends. There's a steep drop-off in one road, and it leads to a dead end that's called the End of the World. According to the legends, if you stay too long at that dead end, a lot of weird things will happen, including a parade of cultists, KKK members, and freaks from the woods. In short, visit at your own peril. Number 5. The Kokoda and Black Cat Trails. Papua New Guinea is hailed as one of the most remote and beautiful places in the world. It is also one of the most dangerous in the world depending on what you do there. No place better symbolizes both sides of the equation to the country better than the Kokoda and Black Cat trails. Every year, scores of people, especially from Australia, make the journey to Papua New Guinea to hike the 60 miles of trail, a journey that is so rough and treacherous it can take 6 whole days to complete. It is the dangers, though, that make many people wonder whether they should truly do the journey. The trail itself is rough, and many people have been hurt just walking it, and there are also tons of native wildlife that you need to be careful of, including scores of leeches. But the biggest danger may just be man, and not your fellow traveler, but locals in the area who aren't afraid to get deadly if you are caught on the trail at the wrong time. In 2013, a group was walking the trail when they were attacked by spears and machete-wielding locals. 2 people were killed, 7 were injured, and the item that they had on them were stolen. Still, despite all of this, many make the trek across the trails. 4. Stoll, Kansas. Stoll, Kansas is a very small town. In fact, there's only about 20 people living there, but it's the true history of the town that has helped build its legend. There was a farmer who had to burn his field, and he did so. When he examined the field afterward, he found his son burned alive within it. Then, a man within the town went missing. He was later found hanged from a tree. These events both happened near the local cemetery, which has made the town and its cemetery infamous for its darkness. In fact, some people are so convinced that it's haunted or cursed that they consider it one of the 7 gateways to hell. There's even rumors that Pope John Paul II knew about this small town and made sure his plane didn't go over it as he journeyed to Colorado. Number 3. Glass Bridge. Number 7. Bridges in their own right can be very scary, especially when you're looking down at a distance of hundreds or even thousands of feet and wondering how you are still up in the air. But what is the scariest of all is that scattered throughout the world are bridges that are made of literal glass, meaning that you can truly see through the floor of the bridge and get a true sense of the vertigo in the worst way. But the scariest one by far is the one in China that is over 1,400 feet in length and has you overlooking a forest that is very massive in scope. 2. Taylor Glacier. Here's a case of nature making a scary thing without a single helping hand from humanity. In Antarctica, there is a waterfall that is red, like really red. Don't worry, it's not blood, but when you look at Taylor Glacier, you can't help but think it's bleeding. Now, like the crater from earlier on the list, there is a perfectly logical explanation for this blood waterfall, as scientists have called it. This glacier is actually containing a lake within it, one that is full of microbes. Add to that, over time, the lake's salinity and iron began to rise. Because of the iron, the water looks red. Because of the salinity, the water will never freeze. As a result, you get a constantly flowing red waterfall. But if you don't know that and you see it, you'll swear the iceberg was bleeding. Number 1. Running of the Bulls. The nation of Spain is known for many cultural and historical wonders, as well as many traditions that continue to this day. Yet one of the most dangerous, most terrifying, and arguably foolish of these traditions is the running of the bulls in Pamplona. To be specific, thousands of people, mainly thrill seekers, crowd the streets of Pamplona in a guarded-off area. Then, a set of fighter bulls charges down the streets, and the thrill seekers have to run 875 meters in order to get to safety. The dangers of this event are numerous and known. The biggest one being that these bulls are the ones used in bullfighting with matadors and are thus trained to rush at people with all their strength. Though death at this event has only happened 16 times, that's still 16 deaths. The most common thing, though, is goring from the bulls via their sharp horns. Other issues include getting trampled by the bulls or even the other people running alongside you. It is stated that every year, hundreds of the runners are injured in some capacity, yet despite all the dangers, the event still goes on every July in Pamplona with many thousands of onlookers. Just between you and me, I'd be too scared of the bulls killing me to even consider doing that. Thanks for watching, everyone. What did you think of these scary tourist destinations? Which ones do you think were the most terrifying? Which of them do you think isn't as scary as advertised? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe and I'll see you next time on the channel.